for joining. So today we will be discussing Man's Search for Meaning, and to give a brief about the book, it's about his life or the author's life at the concentration camp. He was a doctor, and he has given a much greater glimpse into the concentration, exactly what was happening, at least what was happening with him in the concentration camp. And to me personally, I have felt the book is a bit chilling, and more than chilling, like of course it gives a first-hand account, but since knowing the background of the author who was a doctor, he has probably he's got a lot of time during that time to really think about life, and he has made such minute observations about different people, his friends, and what exactly was going on, and the whole language that he has shared about the book is very beautiful, depressing, and uh, at times I felt it was a bit monotonous as well. But like there's a lot of repetition of similar emotions. At least I felt was happening around the book. But yeah, it's a beautiful book and has shown some really great insights as to how one really thinks about life and how can one really find purpose, and what really keeps gives us an insight as to what really keeps a human going ahead, even when they are facing something as devastating as being in a concentration camp. So maybe all other problems that one really faces in a life might be less bad or less, problematic compared to being in that particular position that the people were over there. So I'll just start with the first point to everyone who's joined. I've just curated some discussion points from this book, and we'll be just going one by one, and everyone can just share their own thought process as to what they think about this particular discussion point. It can take your time to Google or something if you want to. The points are not very completely like specific to the book, so you can think and give your own opinions as well as to how much ever you might know about the book in case you have not read it. Okay, I'll start with the first one. So Frankl says that to be alive in the camp meant that one had lost his scruples. The best of us did not return. What does he mean by this? How does the statement reflect life in the concentration camp during the Holocaust? So, of course, in the whole book, he has given the life in the concentration camp as well as his own findings about logotherapy and everything. But this is one very chilling line that he has written that the best of us did not return. So, about also like he has given a lot of what you say depiction about the health, failing health, how people were losing their identity, the willingness to live, you know, uh, like declining hope day by day. And very one interesting point he had mentioned about how during the Christmas and during the end of the year, people used to feel hopeful about returning, but that was not happening, and people used to die more during such periods of time. So this line, what do you really understand by this line, or how does the statement like reflect the life that was mentioned according to you? Anyone can start.
Uh, am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, you're audible. Go ahead.
All right. So basically, what I'm going to say right now, I don't know whether it is correct, but since we are here to discuss, I'll start. So basically, um, Frankel says that to be alive in the camp, just give me a second. Yeah, to be alive in the camp meant that one had lost his scruples. So, as far as scruples is concerned, it's like your morals, your sanity, your rationality, basically, your ability to differentiate between right and wrong, right? So, he
Hmm.
says that to be alive in the camp meant that one had lost his scruples. So, when you are in in such confinement, then of course naturally you lose your sense of right and wrong. You lose your sense of morality, your sense of sanity. Everything which can take you out of that circumstances can look fine to you, right? Because the circumstances are such. You're not getting your normal atmosphere. and therefore everything which can take you out of that confinement, out of that jail, you will deem it to be correct. So that's how the circumstances have made people in the camp. And so he says that, if you are alive in the camp, it means that you have surely lost your scruples, right? You've surely lost your morality, your sense of sanity, your sense of differentiation and distinction between right and wrong. He says, and I quote, the best of us did not return. So, what I can interpret here is that, we say this in our normal lives, in our daily routine, that, the people who do good and are good get good in return, right?
Hmm.
So, he is here saying that even the best of us did not return. The people who did best in their lives, the people who did the right thing, quote unquote, right thing, even could not go back. Right. So that is what I have been able to interpret here. And this is surely his frustration and his angst, which is leading him to say this. And here there's also a very loud signal of the breakage of the notions that the good people get good things, right? So that particular notion that, if you do good you will get good, that seems to be breaking here, because he says that even the best of people who did good things did not return. That is what I've been able to interpret. Then moving on, how does the statement reflect life in the concentration camps during the Holocaust? Then surely it is a life of frustration, uh, you know, frustrations, and I'd say at the same time realizations as well. So one of the realizations is this, that, first of all, you completely lose your sanity in such a situation. Secondly, it's not that the best of people get the best of things, right? So
Hmm.
I would even go to the extent of saying that life can prove to be very random. So even the people who do good can get bad in return, and even the people who do bad can have good in life. So there is a sort of randomness as well. So it is, I'd say, the answer to the last question is, how does the statement reflect life in the concentration camp? Then the life is full of frustrations and realizations. And on that note, I'd hand over the mic to another participant in this discussion.
Yeah, very brilliantly put. People in the concentration camp, they were doing a lot of. Okay, we know George is not able to hear anything. Um, okay, I'll just reply to her. Just give me a few moments. Pino, can you try rejoining or something? Maybe, if you're not able to hear only. Okay, so yeah, basically what I was saying was that in the like slowly as they were trying to um you know what you say, cope up with each day and everything. Uh, it's like when you keep doing one thing again and again, whatever work that they were given. Also, these people, Jews, and the kind of people who were being held in the concentration camp at that point of time, most of them, I would say, were from well-to-do families, and they were not used to the kind of work that was being subjected to them in the concentration. They all had to work, right? And then they were not given food, and whatever was happening to them, their lives were much more different at that point of time. So when they were subjected to such kind of work and such kind of an environment, I just feel that they were it's like when like you're just put down, like the whole gap between what you were and what you are right now is so huge that they would want to retain that sort of a lifestyle. Not, of course, they cannot return to the previous lifestyle at all, but I remember in the book he was mentioning about how these people wanted a good bed, cigarettes, and good food and stuff. They used to dream about all those things. There are some lines in which he has mentioned about returning to the normalcy and everything. So you know probably and when you're used to something and you're put into another situation out of nowhere, you would try your best to return to it as much as possible. And at that point of time, I feel a person can do anything, right? And loses his sense of morality, as Samriddhi had mentioned, right? That's what couples really means. Like, you don't hesitate to do something. So probably that's what, the best of us did not return. Like, I just have a different perspective that even after all this, they could not probably, return to what they were at that point of time. So the whole sentence is like, we who have come back by the aid of many lucky chances or miracles, whatever one may choose to call them, we know the best of us did not return. So I'll just paste the quote or the whole paragraph that is there on the chat so that you guys can also read it. Okay. Uh, just put it out there that on the average, only those prisoners could keep alive who, after years of trekking from camp to camp, had lost all scruples in their fight for existence. They were prepared to use every means, honest and otherwise, even brutal force, theft, and betrayal of their friends in order to save themselves. We who have come back by the aid of many lucky chances or miracles, whatever one may choose to call them, we know the best of us do not return. So, that's the whole paragraph, just tech issues. Okay, so the second one is that according to Frankl, how do suffering and death complete life and give it meaning? So he has spoken a lot about this particular aspect of uh, yeah, the whole book is around that, right? Man's search for meaning. So, how do you think suffering and death complete life and it gives it any sort of meaning that is there? I'll just read out the sentence as well, that if there is a meaning in life at all, then there must be a meaning in suffering. Suffering is an eradicable part of life, even as fate and death. Without suffering and death, human life cannot be complete. That's the complete sentence based on which, like, that's what he has written in the book. I'll put that on the chat as well so that you guys can refer.
I have a question, if I may ask.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Ask.
So basically, I haven't read this book, so we are free to give a general perspective,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The questions are designed like that only.
Right, right, right. Thank you. That's the only thing I wanted to ask.
Yeah, I've put the sentence in the chat as well to check.
I'm sorry. Can I speak now? I was actually having my dinner.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, about suffering and death, what I feel is that um, both of these things provide meaning to our life because they help us grow as a person, and they also so whenever like we face a difficult situation in our life, we have the potential to actually transform that tragedy into a triumph and to actually learn a lot of uh, things from it. So, like suffering and death is basically a part of life, and you cannot really escape it. That's what I feel. And I recently lost someone whom I loved. So, this was like my first time experience with death. So, and I think it is an important aspect of life because we always talk about birth and how it brings about happiness, but death is also a part of our life cycle. And I think we need to talk more about how natural death is. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So it is just a part of life. So I think, yeah, death and suffering both complete life and they give meaning. They add more meaning to life. And it also helps you understand life better in general.
Yeah, I remember this. There was this one more book called in which, there's one professor, Tuesdays with Maury. And that also, like, it's only when he started suffering, when he started losing his
Yes.
whatever disease that he had, is when he could actually contemplate about life and all. I just feel that when it's only when we start suffering is when we start appreciating life, probably. And maybe that's how they, maybe it acts like a reminder, all these diseases and all that we really get, or whatever situations we face, whatever suffering really comprises of, not just diseases only, of course. There are a lot of other ways in which we can suffer, but maybe that's how uh, that maybe that's when you really understand the whole meaning of life. And maybe you can feel it. And it's but in the book also, like, it's purposelessness. I feel that there's this uh, trend, or not trend really, but uh, the whole thing that comes out after reading is that how purposelessness is what is also equated, to death, wherein they're being made like they want to be free but they are not. And they just don't have anything else to do. It's just that whatever weird work that they give, they have to do that. And they're being constantly made to suffer and all, unless they just give up. And purposely fully they have to look healthy and walk straight and everything. Only then they are not being sent to the gas chambers and stuff. So it's maybe uh, that's when they try to really understand, when they're very hungry, and when they're all weak and everything. They could probably feel it or something, or they don't feel it actually back then. I'm not being articulate, but yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I'll think more carefully and then say again.
Uh, can I speak
Yeah,
now?
yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, as far as suffering is concerned, I think it is really important in a person's life. And the reason why is that only when you know darkness, you can appreciate light. Only when you know what's black, you can appreciate, I would say appreciate because we have to be politically correct, but then, only when you know what is dark, you will know what is white, and vice versa. So the point that I'm trying to convey here is that you have to know a certain thing in order to know what is on the flip side, in order to appreciate or regret what is on the flip side. So when suffering comes, it comes with a meaning of happiness as well. So imagine if you had a life where only good things happen to you, then obviously you will lose the entire meaning of that goodness and you will stop enjoying that joys in your life, because that's like a daily thing for you, right? But it's just that we have that roller coaster ride in our lives, and therefore we enjoy the small joys and all the happiness that we have. So suffering in that sense is really, really important. Another thing is that suffering is the reason why we got Lord Buddha, right? So Lord Buddha had all the had all the pleasures of life in his kingdom, but then he decided that he has to venture out of that palace. And then he looked at, how much suffering there was in the world outside. And that suffering only led to the enlightenment, right? And today we have an entire thing about it. So suffering is very, very important part of life. It is as important as happiness, I would say. It is nothing less, nothing more. It is as important as happiness. And as far as that particular aspect of death is concerned, a simple thing that I would like to say, and I'd like to sum up in one sentence, is that, if something has been created, it has to be destroyed as well. If something has come to existence, it has to come to an end as well. So I think on that note, I'd stop.
Oh yeah, you gave a very good example of Gautam Buddha. He's the epitome example, when it comes to understanding suffering and all. And I think even Nietzsche, he also studied a lot around suffering, and he also mentioned how suffering is what actually, like, you have to do in order to rise up, and it's a part of process and everything, I think. Great, great, awesome. Beenu, are you there? Like, would you like to add anything? I'm not sure if she's there or she's able to listen or not. Okay, I'm moving on. So, according to Frankl, an abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is normal. What does he mean by this paradox, and how can you relate it to a time in your own life? I'll just find the quote and put it in the chat also so that you guys can think. So I'll just read out, something that I found. The paradox of the statement lays in the idea that an abnormal reaction is actually a normal reaction because it's the response to an abnormal situation. For example, staying up till 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. to complete homework is abnormal because it's socially unacceptable for a student to stay up that late, given the fact that they have school tomorrow. However, according to Frankl, staying up late to finish homework is a normal reaction to the abnormality of having so much work given as a college student. In fact, staying up late becomes a normal response to the amount of homework that's given because if not, it won't get done. So, just sharing one of the statements that I found regarding this particular quote. If you guys would like to add anything to that, definitely go ahead.
All right, so this basically reminds me of the abnormal circumstance or situation that we are in. So basically, going out with friends is a very, very normal thing to do. But in the abnormal situation that we are in of the pandemic, the abnormal reaction of not going out with friends and staying indoors, even on festivals, is a normal thing to do. It's the same thing to do. I hope I'm
Yeah,
able to convey what I'm trying to say.
yeah, yeah.
So, so I guess he has put it in the most brilliant way possible that an abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is normal.
Yes, definitely. Sim, you would like to add something?
No, I think what Simriddhi said is actually what actually sums it up. In like our present situation is so much about this abnormal reaction because we are in an abnormal situation right now because it's so
Yeah.
unpredictable and we have no clue what will happen next. We have no clue what will happen in a year. So yeah, I mean, it's totally fine if we have an abnormal reaction to the situation. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah, today I read a very weird news about Delhi. It's High Court saying that those who obstruct oxygen supply in Delhi, like whoever is the person, they will hang them. And I was like, oh my God, like for the first time I've just seen a High Court giving a direct statement to the press and that we'll just hang you. Oh my God, everyone is so
Too
frustrated.
harsh. I know.
Yeah, and also this one more news about some guy had stolen vaccines and then
Yeah,
he just
he
returned it.
returned.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
because he
right.
didn't realize the like whatever he stole was vaccines. So the moment he
Yeah,
got to know it was vaccine, he returned it. I don't know.
yes, yes.
It could be fake. I don't know. It's such a bizarre news.
Yeah, it is definitely a bizarre news. Um,
I'd like to add a little more thing, like on a lighter note. So basically, nobody could imagine that we would dress up in all good form and shape, and then we would put on a mask to cover more than half of our face. So that's a very abnormal thing. But in this abnormal circumstance, that is the most normal thing one can do. So yes, that
Agreed.
is another
yes.
example.
Totally.
Okay, so we have Shefali here as well. Hi, Shefali. So we are just, we have put some discussion points on the screen based on the book. These are general kind of points, and in case if they're too specific, I'm adding the quote as well, based on which it would help you guys think. And we are going turn by turn, so you can just unmute yourself and present your point uh, whenever you feel like. I hope you're able to listen to me and Uh, you can unmute and talk. So I'll just move on to the next point that is there. The author introduces the concept of provisional existence or life without a sense of the future. It has been said that we are the first people in human history who must live with the knowledge that there may be not generations after us due to the prevailing threat of nuclear and environmental disaster. Do you see signs of provisional existence in our society today, and how do we combat it? So you can take a minute or two, and I hope you guys are able to see the screen and you can read it as well. And yeah, so I just feel that like this is a way, like his statement, about that there may not be generation after us due to prevailing threat of nuclear and environmental disaster. I just feel maybe since he lived at that time, during the war times and all, so that's why I think World War II, right? So that's why he was able to think that way. But I think since it's been uh, 60, 70 years, whatever number of years, that since the this whole Nazi thing that happened, that we have not really done any sort of nuclear attacks, I think. It's just South Korea trying to threaten US. That's all that has happened, I think. But I really doubt if, I mean, of course, if somebody goes crazy enough to do that, they will do it. But at least we try to, I feel that the kind of system that we have as of now, nuclear might not be a thing that might happen. But environmental disaster, yes, we will definitely, we are already facing a lot. Uttarakhand is facing so much. I mean, they face forest fires now. Right now, they're facing glacier thing that is happening back to back. Some or the other thing is happening in Orissa and Uttarakhand all the time. Since the start of the year, even last year, they had flood. I think last year, I don't know which year, they had a massive flood as well. So um, yeah, as far as the provisional existence, yeah, it is kind of provisional, but I don't think as an individual we should. Uh, I mean, it's a personal opinion. Like, I know I'm going to just live for the next. I'm 25 right now. I might just live for more 30 or 40 years as such if everything is right. So I personally, don't think a lot on these sort of things about provisional existence and all. Maybe we should just try to fight it out, like living in the present and just see what is there right now and just deal with that. That's how I would want to, combat with provisional existence. Like, to not probably think about it. There's always so many enough problems right now that we are facing. Like, to think so much about the future, about nuclear and all those things. Maybe it's way too much, at least for me. That's all I have.
So basically, living in the national capital, this reminds me of the pandemic again because the situation here is really bad. And having said about provisional existence, I feel that best describes our situation because we are actually living a life without a sense of the future. People are really dying without the supply of oxygen. And then I'm reminded of this news which said that 20 people, 25 people died together. Right. So basically, it's there's always a sense of fear in you, and that sense of fear also sort of points towards your very existence. Like you are existing today, but you do not know about tomorrow. So that really, makes you hollow from inside, and there is actually no sense of future. So, you mentioned very beautifully about how you believe in living in the present moment, but then you live in the present moment with a hope for a future, with an optimism of a better tomorrow. Right, but then if that very hope is taken away from you, if that very optimism is taken away from you, then that is what provisional existence is, and that's really, really sad, and that's the situation nobody should be in. And pandemic situation is the best example, I would say. So the question says that do you see signs of provisional existence in your society today? I'd say obviously yes, and I've already explained it with the COVID thing. and how do we combat it? We are trying to combat it, and with through various means, and let's hope we are able to. I think that's all I have to say.
Oh, yeah, right. I mean, if you see, like, yeah, you're right. If the optimism, if I'm showing, it's also, thinking ki kuch aage hoga, then only I'll be able to live, right? So I'll just,
Right.
Bino George has put something, I'll read it out. Bino George says, perception of threat and destruction is different at different times. Every generation faces a new threat and extinction. But what is amazing is the survival and growth of human beings all along. We don't value what we have and try to get something uniquely valuable, undermining what he already has. Yeah, I mean, very beautifully put. Today only I came across this New York Times article which spoke about how we do not value our ancestors well enough. Ancestors, by ancestors, actually, till whatever time we have been alive, most of the time we have been hunters and gatherers. So it's like we only for the past maybe 500 max 500 years is when we have actually been modern, I guess, like truly modern and stuff like that. But before that, we have been mostly hunters and gatherers and nomads and trying to just burn forests, try to grow and then go somewhere else. All sort of tribal sort of life, which we normally have, and they were probably not thinking of these things, or I don't know what they were thinking, but yeah, like everything faces new threat. Sim, you'd like to add anything?
Not really. I was just thinking about the book actually, like why the term provisional existence was used. So what I think is that when these people, the prisoners in the concentration camps, so when they were in the camps, they did not have any idea when their suffering would end or whenever they'll be free, and they basically did not have a plan ahead because their um, lives were, I mean, bound, and plus they had no idea that when would all of this end, right? So yeah, just thinking about that and how they just found, I don't know, it was a difficult situation for them, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, the provisional existence is in terms of him only, and like of course they were living a life without any sense of future, and again he mentions a very interesting fact, in the start of the book. I'm not sure at what point it is, but about how in the Christmas or during the New Year's time, most of the people used to die, even though they were not. Having any crucial disease or anything like that. It's just that they gave up the will to live, and maybe it's because they did not see any future, and then because of that they just died off, I guess. Okay, I'll move on to the next one. Um, so there are last 2 points now. So second last, Frankl explains that there were three psychological stages of prisoners in a concentration camp: shock, apathy, and disillusionment. Disillusionment. Do you see this pattern anywhere in our culture today? If so, to what or of what are we becoming prisoners? Have you ever felt yourself as a prisoner? I think right now we are all prisoners at home, regarding COVID. But maybe apart from COVID, I think uh, today only I saw this trailer on Netflix about IIT. So they have kind of showcased the life of IITians. Particularly, I think they have, if I'm not wrong, focused on IIT Kharagpur. I think that's where they have shot it, and how the lives of students, they were showing that even after cracking this competitive exam, there's even more competition, and how the students try to grapple to gain attention, improve their resumes, and because now you're amongst the best minds, and that one could probably have top 10,000 in the country, and again you have to fight it out among them to get placements. Or most of the time they were facing this existential crisis, about why are they over there, why have they worked so hard throughout this time, and then they come by the second year, they were giving statements, and there's lines in the trailer where they say that I just don't know if I want to do this anymore, and now I'm just searching as to what to do next. Half of them realize that they don't want to do engineering anymore, so they start doing anything and everything that is available in the campus. And I can kind of, all these three psychological stages that is mentioned. There's a line I think mentioned in the trailer that you are inside now, this institute. Basically, you are inside this whole thing, and now you just have to do anything and everything to probably just get out alive. And also, how some of them who are not able to make it because that's the dream that was sold to them, that you'll be whatever dreams that are sold to them, in the coaching institutes and the parents and everything, and they are not able to realize that actually. And it's true, not every IITian is actually able to become completely successful, or whatever idea of success that was sold to them, especially if they lose their interest in engineering from the early stages itself. I have some friends who have done that. Like, they're completely talented people, but kind of a bit lost because of whatever field that they've chosen. But anyway, but that shock, apathy, and disillusionment, the stages, is something that you guys can probably check out the trailer, and maybe just relate to that. So that's all I and I also of course faced that. When I was in 12th, I also prepared for JEE. I didn't crack it, and but in my 12th standard, I was facing that a lot. Uh, I did engineering just because like my father asked me to, but I was interested in science for sure, at least. And but what engineering to choose was completely based on whatever marks that I had at that point. And the college that I got was of course by chance. It's such a weird system that is there. So my 12th standard, when it came, when it went, I don't know only. So yeah, I think this is the pattern, and all the three questions that are there of pattern anywhere in our culture, that I see it over there. Just because I saw that trailer, it just came into my mind. And what are we becoming prisoners of? I think it's also changing. Like I remember the engineering seats are not getting filled anymore. Less and less people are applying to it right now. The private colleges are for sure facing. Of course, there are still people who apply every year, not changed completely, but at least that openness of accepting what you want to do. After your engineering, at least that part is there. Slowly, slowly, probably, you'll start. That whole aspect will go off. I guess. I hope. So, yeah, that's all I have to add.
I would like to add something. So basically, not particularly in the context of the concentration camp, but uh, having read these three words, shock, apathy, and disillusionment, as the three psychological stages, I would like to say that yes, these three psychological stages do exist, and I'd like to explain it with an example. So, for example, there was a time in our country when back to back scams were being exposed. I don't want to get political here, but it's just that everybody, it's a common knowledge that, back to back there were scams being exposed, and every day, you wake up to a news of a certain scam, 2G, etc., etc. So, what happens is first people get a sense of shock. They're really shook from inside, and everything. Then Arnab shouts on screen, etc., etc. All that happens, but then there is apathy which creeps in. Then people become complacent that, oh yeah, they are like that only. You get the point. So then apathy creeps in. After that huge shock, people become complacent, and they are into that zone of accepting things. Now they are indoctrinated into that kind of thing only, that okay, politicians are there and they are corrupt only, so we don't need to be bothered about, and we have to be indifferent to the situation. That's what happens. But then as time moves on, this apathy doesn't convert into rebellion per se, or any form of demonstration per se, but then disillusionment. And that disillusionment or disappointment is also sort of quite disappointment only. So people are not really rebellious or something, but it's just that they become disappointed. And that cause of disappointment is themselves only. They are the very reason behind that disappointment, because uh, instead of that apathy, they should have done something at that point in time, but then, that was the apathy that was clouding their minds. So again, I'd say that not particularly in the context of the concentration camp, sorry for that, but usually also I think that yes, this pattern exists. First there is shock, then there is apathy, and then there is complete disillusionment, and then probably the circle goes on loop and there is no end to it. This is a very vicious cycle.
That's a great example, and it happens. Example that I gave has happened, throughout the years. Even today, like most of the people who are silent, about things, probably face this sort of a thing more, I guess. Because people who protest against, they at least they have some sort of hope left. Whoever was coming and protesting against India, against corruption. I remember that moment when I was in college. That was the moment that was there, right? And probably people who just don't say anything anymore are going through that whole, have just given up, and are in that position, so they don't really participate or say anything much. Sam, you'd like to add, or Binu George, you can type it out if you're not able to unmute.
No, I think I relate to the point you mentioned earlier about how engineers feel trapped, especially in our society, uh, especially IITians. Actually, I mean, not just IITians, actually, everyone, especially 11th, 12th students and the college students, they just face a lot of competition nowadays. And it's just, and I think it's just very unhealthy. Because most of us don't even know what we actually want to do, right? We just do it and we just give in to pressure, peer pressure, parental pressure, whatever. And I think that kind of does make us all a prisoner, especially if we don't know what we want to do. So yeah, I think that's all.
Yeah, I just said engineering because I saw that trailer, and
I went
that's
to an
why. But
engineering
of course,
college,
everybody.
so I know the situation. I know it sucks. It honestly sucks.
Yeah.
So that's it. So
Also, I'll just take up the last one.
yeah.
So, Frankel cites the stripping away of all worldly possessions, including one's name, as an important part of the process by which prisoners were dehumanized. What experiences in your life today diminish your sense of own humanity? Can too many possessions create the same effect? So two things here. That's how. Of course, when they are sent to the concentration camp, they're just anything and everything is taken away. They are just given some rucksack and all to wear, and whatever everything was that was there, even name and all, they're just taking it away. Of course, they might be sharing names and all to each other, but probably after some time, they might even forget all of that. Who they were, but. Yeah, so that's what, and this is one part about taking the worldly possessions away. Another is if having does having a lot of possessions also create same sort of an effect? Does it also dehumanize you? So I just feel that I haven't experienced or I know about any experience in which people are dehumanizing. Maybe the thing that is happening in China with the Uyghur Muslims, I guess they can be an example of whatever is happening is then very similar. They also have this I'm not sure what is happening inside, but at least the word concentration camp is there. That what they are doing something to them. I'm not sure if they're killing them or what is it exactly that they're doing inside. But I feel, but one thing I know for sure is that they are trying to remove the what you say, the identity of the Muslim identity that these Uyghurs community carried and are trying to feed the kids with Chinese, whatever culture and all that they have, language and stuff like that. And they are re-educating them. I remember there were reports that the kids were taken away from their mothers and they are being made to, they are being taught. I don't think they are being killed or something, I guess, but the cultural thing is being removed. So, but yeah, my own humanity, I don't think I have been dehumanized with that part. Maybe like during my preparation, my mobile and all was taken away, but I don't think that's just nothing in front of um, what the line here is mentioned. You know, dehumanized, I feel, is a very big word. But uh, about having too many possessions, creating the same effect. But I think when you have too many possessions, I don't think it creates the same effect because when you have a lot of, like when you are very rich and everything, you actually get a lot. It's a, like a ticket to, having new sort of an experiences. Maybe if you do not still have friends and human connections, because that happens generally a lot of in movies and all we see now, like someone if they become rich, they tend to have lesser friends. I think Bill Gates has only one friend, Warren Buffett. That's what he says. So since you have lesser amount of friends and the attitude of people change around you, so in that way it might make you feel superior or inferior, depending on how the person really takes it, right? But I feel that if you're rich and maybe if you have a lot of possessions, maybe you can try to strip some away from it, like practice that stripping away part to the point where you're just probably comfortable enough. Because these Bill Gates and even Mark Zuckerberg, I think they have given most of their wealth away to charity via their foundations that they have. Probably that gives them a sense of purpose, I guess, with whatever life that they are living right now. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say.
All right. So now I'd like to add. So basically, what experiences in your life today diminish your sense of your own humanity? I would say being robbed of the very right to go out of your home, and I'm not blaming it on anybody. Is just that the circumstances demand so? So I feel that my sense of humanity is lost there because humans are meant to, experience their freedom because only when you experience freedom, you experience life, but I'm robbed of that. All of us are robbed of that privilege, quote unquote privilege that has indeed become privilege. So that is something which has sort of diminished my sense of humanity, I'd say. And then this is a very interesting question. Can too many possessions create the same effect? I'd say yes, because, as they say, what you own owns you. So whatever possessions you have, you might own them, that's fine, but then they also own you back. So when you have too many possessions, too many material things, you need to sort of maintain them also. And that's when it gets too hectic. And that's when you get too engrossed in those material things that you tend to ignore yourself and then be indulged in those possessions only. So, yes, indeed, I'd completely agree with this. I'd say yes to this statement that can too many possessions create the same effect? Yes, those possessions do create the same effect, but because what you own owns you. So, that's all I have to say.
That's a very brilliant line. You know what you own owns you as well. That is so true. Sim and Bindu, you guys would like to add anything?
Yeah, sure. I agree. With the current situation again, the fact that we've been handed out so many privileges, the privilege to spend time and to go out, to just spend time with our family, to go out, it's we've been stripped of it right now. We can't really go out and we can't do the things we used to. So yeah, I think that kind of does diminish part of our sense of our humanity because we are social beings, and obviously the only thing that matters to us is social interaction, right? It's a very integral part of our survival, I think. And yeah, so I think that plus what's happening in China and in North Korea, I think it's just very sad. So yeah. Also, I feel that about these possessions part, that can too many possessions create the same effect? Yeah, it does. So there's a famous quote that my dad always uses, is that people are meant to be loved and things are meant to be used, but we often uh, switch positions. Like we use people and we love things, which is not how it should be. So I think, yeah, that's all from my side.
Yeah, yeah, even you've put it very well. Bino George is saying very well said, what you own owns you as well. So true. And yeah, with that, I think we come to an end to the discussion. This was the last point. And thank you everyone for joining. I had a great time and a much better understanding of the book, and I hope that was the case with you. Okay, Bino George has said, we are prisoners in our own homes, like Frankl in the camp, though we are in much better position. So, what are the things we look at in our prisons? So, and also, but I just like to add, we all are saying that we have been imprisoned and all, but I came across this post by, official humans of Bombay on Instagram, and it was not interview, it was a statement made by one of the COVID warriors that being at home is a privilege. So she was basically describing she was an apprentice, or I forgot the word that is mentioned for these doctors who are not yet who haven't yet completed the masters. So she was telling the whole situation and everything, and in the end she just mentions that being at home is a privilege right now, and I think that just hit me very hard, that actually us being at home is the privilege, even though we all are not able to go out with the kind of situation that are there in our country. So just wanted to make that point. And yeah, thank you again. And do suggest any other books that or articles or any news piece that you would like us to take up for discussions and all. And we do this almost every day. And yeah, thank you for joining. Do it, invite your friends as well who would like to join such sessions and who have read the book or anything like that. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for the amazing session. It was fun.